in listen-only mode during the conversation. We will answer questions at the end of the event. A link to the recorded webinar will be emailed shortly after the event, and it will be available on demand at www.regalix.com. With that information, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Pawan Kumar, Senior Business Manager. Pawan is a marketer with over 13 years of experience in online and offline marketing. He has been associated with leading companies in the FMCG, retail, travel, education, and advertising industry. His expertise has been in the field of enabling marketing innovations and creating customer delight experiences through digital mediums. Pawan has a master's in business administration and bachelor's in chemistry. With that, let's dive into the presentation. Over to you, Pawan.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for participating in the second part of the Blue Ocean Strategy webinar. In our previous webinar, as many of you might recollect, we had discussed about the difference between red oceans and blue oceans, wherein red oceans is about competing in existing marketplace. It's about trying to beat competition. It tries to create a value cost trade-off, tries to create competitive advantage with segmenting existing customers and exploiting existing demand. Whereas in case of blue ocean, it's about creating uncontested marketplace, creating making the competition irrelevant, breaking the value cost trade-off. It's about value innovation by attracting non-customers and creating and capturing new demand. We also discussed last time about value innovation, whereas value innovation is a simultaneous pursuit of high value and low cost, and the characteristics of a good value innovation is the focus, divergence, and a compelling tagline. We also discussed about the 4 actions framework, wherein we eliminate the factors that the industry takes for granted, reduce the factors that should be well below the industry standard, create factors that the industry has never created, and raise factors that should be raised above the industry standard. We also looked at the concept of strategy canvas, where the strategy canvas is a central diagnostic and action framework for building a compelling blue ocean strategy. The strategy canvas serves basically 2 purposes. It captures the current state of play in the known marketplace and also allows you to know where you are vis-a-vis competition. It propels you to action by reorienting your focus from competitors to alternatives and from customers to non-customers. We also looked at a couple of case studies last time. One of the case studies was about NetJets, where a new airline, instead of focusing on commercial aviation space, focused on corporate aviation by providing corporate customers with the comfort and speed of a corporate jet at the price of a commercial airline ticket, and in the process eliminated the hassles and discomfort associated with the travel, while also providing them with a fractional ownership of the airline, and thereby then creating a B2B industry where the entire industry was still in B2C. We also talked about a small startup called Indochina.com, which created an online suit store where suits were absolutely customized as per the user's requirement based on their latest fashion trends and the materials chosen by the users, and was delivered within 3 weeks. The price points of these suits were just slightly higher than the discount suits, but the quality and the quality was on par with that of a designer brand. We also looked at the story of a gaming company called Zynga, which challenged the traditional gaming industry that was focused on consoles, genres, high-end graphics, and Zynga came in and focused on non-customers and introduced games like Farmville, which were free, which could be played with friends and family, which were not violent, they were educative, they invoked creativity, and also did not have a winner-loser outcomes. The other case that we looked at was about Khan Academy, which is a popular education portal, content portal, wherein the Khan Academy tied up with many schools in US and changed the dynamics of learning. With Khan Academy, the classwork became homework and the homework became classwork for kids, because kids learned the chapters on Khan Academy at home and became involved in enriched discussions and problem solving in school, in classroom. The use of analytics added icing onto the cake, because with analytics, the teachers and parents were now able to view the subject-wise strengths and weaknesses of their kids, and students and teachers ensured equality of learning by providing more one-on-one time and pairing them or pairing the students with the ones who are more comfortable or good with the subjects. Now going forward, today we will discover the principles of Blue Ocean strategy. Essentially, there are 6 principles of Blue Ocean strategy. The 4 of them are called the core formulation principles, and 2 of them are called the execution principles. These principles eliminate the risk and maximize the opportunity associated with Blue Ocean ideas. The 4 formulation principles are the first one being reconstructing market boundaries, which eliminates the search trick associated with conceiving a Blue Ocean idea. Second one being focusing on big picture, which eliminates the planning risk. Third one being reaching beyond the existing demand, which eliminates the scaling risk. The fourth one is about getting the strategic sequence right, which eliminates the business model risk. The other 2 principles, the execution principles, are called overcoming key organizational hurdles and building execution into strategy. These 2 principles eliminate the organizational risk and the management risk associated with Blue Ocean. So now let's get started with the first principle. The first principle is called reconstructing the market boundaries. This principle, I think we need to look at the 6 parts framework, wherein blue oceans can be created by exploring outside the traditional industry boundaries. A traditional industry faces 6 typical boundaries, and blue oceans provide paths to move away from these 6 hurdles. The first path being looking across the alternate industry. Here we need to question what are the alternative industries to your industry. Who are the buyers, and why do the buyers trade across them? Companies like NTT Docomo, FedEx, Southwest, NetJets, these are common companies which followed this path and created value innovation. The second path is called looking across strategic groups. Here we need to question what are the strategic groups in the industry, why do buyers trade up for a higher group, and why do they trade down for a lower one? Companies like LaFerrari, Curve, Sony Walkman, Toyota, Lexus followed this path. Third path is called looking across chain of buyers. Here the key question that need to be asked is what is the chain of buyers in the current industry? Which buyer groups does the industry typically focus on? And if you shifted the buyer group to your industry, how can you unlock new value? Companies like Novo Nordisk, Bloomberg, Canon, and Philips are some of the companies that followed this path and created innovations. The next path is called looking across complementary product and service offerings. Here, the key questions one need to ask is what is the context in which your product or service is used? What happens before, after, during, and after a product is used, is bought? Is it possible to identify the pain points? And how can one eliminate the pain points through complementary? Is it through complementary product or service offerings? Companies like Barnes & Noble, Dyson vacuum cleaners are some of the companies which followed this path. The fifth path is called looking across functional and emotional appeal to buyers. The key questions that you need to ask here is, does your industry focus on functionality or emotional appeal? If you compete on emotional appeal, what are the elements that can be stripped to make it more functional? And if you compete on functionality, what are the elements that can be added to make it more emotional? Companies like Starbucks, Viagra, QB House are some of the companies that followed this path. The last path is about looking across the time value of the business. Here, the key questions that need to be asked is what trends have a high probability of impacting your industry? Are these trends irreversible? Are they evolving in a clear trajectory? How will this trend going to impact your industry tomorrow? Given this, how can unprecedented customer utility be unveiled? Companies like Apple, HBO, CNN are some of the ones who followed this path. Now, let's get on to the second principle, which is called focusing on big pictures, not numbers. Once we have identified or conceived a blue ocean idea, it's imperative that we plan and strategize it. While if you look at a typical organization today, a typical strategic plan is very red ocean, because managers formulate the strategy based on current industry current customers, and current challenges. Managers also spend a majority of their time thinking about profitability, projections, market shares, segments, revenues. All these are based on current industry facts and assumptions. Besides, managers are also pulled in all directions by their superiors, who again have limited information and perceptions. Blue Ocean strategy suggests that by building a company's strategic planning process around a strategy canvas, the company can focus their main attention on the big picture rather than getting immersed in numbers and jargons. Blue Ocean strategy suggests that there are 4 steps that pushes a company's strategy canvas to blue oceans. The first one is called visual awakening. The first step is to create and compare your business with your competitors by drawing a as-is strategy canvas, and then figure out what is the strategy change that you need to make. The second step is called visual exploration, wherein you go to the field and explore the 6 parts of creating blue ocean. Observe the distinctive advantages of alternative products and services. See which factors you can eliminate, raise, create, or change. As a caveat, one should never use market research for this step. You should use your own eyes and ears to formulate this step. The third step is called visual strategy fair, wherein you draw your to-be strategy canvas based on insights from the field and then get feedback on this strategy from customers, from your competitors' customers, and your non-customers, and use this feedback to build the best of to-be future strategy. And then finally, you distribute your before and after strategic profiles in one page for easy comparison and to understand how you have moved from a first step to a last step. And then you need to support only those projects and operational moves that allow your company to close the gaps and actualize a new strategy. One can also use a PMS map, which is Pioneer, Migrator, and Settler maps. Pioneers are basically business units that provide unprecedented value to a company. Settlers are the businesses that conform to basic value curve of the industry or meet to industry norms. Migrators are improved businesses that provide improved value to the customers but not necessarily very innovative idea. By using this kind of a visualization strategy, managers can predict and plan companies' future. This framework can also be used to help a company align its internal product portfolios. Clearly, what the company should be doing is shifting the balance of their future portfolios towards pioneer groups. Now, if a company portfolio current and planned offerings consist mainly of settlers, then the company has a low growth trajectory. Next, we move on to the next principle called reaching beyond existing demand. This principle challenges the conventional strategies of businesses, where the conventional companies focus on existing customers. The idea being to retain and safeguard their existing customers while they try to compete for competitors' businesses and customers. This actually creates enhanced, increases competitiveness among the industry and leads to higher cost of customer acquisitions. Companies also try to drive for finer segmentation. The key idea being to create a niche by looking at finer customer preferences and dominate them with their competitive advantage. But all they are doing is creating small marketplaces that might not be scalable and profitable in the long run. So this principle challenges this conventional strategy and forgets us to look at new 3 tiers of non-customers. The non-customers, there are 3 tiers of non-customers. The tier 1 non-customers are soon to be non-customers who are on the edge of your market waiting to jump ship. Tier 2 non-customers are refusing non-customers who consciously choose against your market. Tier 3 non-customers are unexplored non-customers who are in markets distant from yours. One can convert the non-customers into customers by identifying their dissatisfaction. To convert tier 1 non-customer, one needs to look at and investigate the key dissatisfaction that exists between in these customers, and try to identify the key commonalities across the needs and desires. To acquire Tier 2 non-customers, one need to eliminate the access barriers, be it economic, functional, education, or geographical. To acquire Tier 3 non-customers, one need to remove long-held assumption on customer needs and behavior. Zynga, as we mentioned earlier, effectively used this principle. It had three levels of customer. The Tier 1 non-customer for Zynga was non-regular players, basically young boys and girls who are kind of bored out of their traditional games. Tier 2 non-customers were casual players, basically working men and women who didn't have enough time to play. Tier 3 non-customers were basically parents, women, housewives who never wanted to play. To acquire Tier 1 non-customers, uh, Zynga changed the genres of the game completely. From the traditional shooting, arcade games, racing games, it changed it to simulation. And the second change that it made was it made this game available on social networking platform, which made social networking more fun, more exciting. As a result, Tier 1 customers felt that their fun lasted longer, and they had to encounter lesser effort and time. To acquire Tier 2 non-customers, Zynga made the cost of the game free because it also eliminated the hassles of consoles, game titles, accessories, and hardware and setups. So it totally eliminated these. After eliminating these barriers, the non-serious casual players actually started using these games to unwind and relax. To acquire Tier 3 non-customers, Zynga actually removed the violence completely from the games. And being on a social network platform, it allowed the players to play with friends and family, and not necessarily when they are together or in real time. So this resulted in a no winner, no loser syndrome that the Tier 3 non-customer actually liked very much. Next, we move on to the next principle. It's called getting the strategic sequence right. This principle tries to create robust business model and also validates the blue ocean idea. It basically tests the blue ocean idea against 4 parameters. Uh, it's uh, uh, it's called buyer utility, price, cost, and adoption. It tries to test if there is an exceptional buyer utility in the business idea. It also checks if the price is easily accessible to the mass of buyers. It also checks whether one can attain the cost target to profit at a strategic price. It also checks whether whether there are any adoption hurdles, and what are we doing to address them upfront. If uh, if Okay, now let's test the now let's look at the first test called the buyer utility test. To understand this, we need to understand a buyer utility map. This is basically a buyer's experience that is broken into cycles of 6 stages running from purchase to disposal. Each stage consists of a wide variety of specific experiences. At each stage, managers need to ask a set of questions to gauge the quality of the buyer's experience. This is overdrawn with the blocks to buyer utility. Uncovering the blocks to buyer utility can identify the biggest blocks to a buyer experience that stand in a way of converting non-customers into customers. By merging these two, we come up with a buyer utility test. We have done this for Indochino.com. As you can see, the red dots actually indicate the blocks to buyer utility for Indochino.com, and the crosses indicate the blocks to buyer utility from a traditional industry. Now you can see there are lesser blocks to buyer utility in Indochino.com than a traditional industry. This provides the unprecedented value to a customer. Next, we move from exceptional utility to strategic pricing. Here we introduce a model called as price corridor to masses. This is a model which understands the sensitivity of the pricing of a product or a service. It basically consists of two steps. The first step is identifying the price corridor. The price corridor is identified by looking at the volume of the products and services that have same form as your product and service, by identifying the volumes of products and services that have different form but probably have the same function, and looking at the volumes of products that have different form and function but provide a similar objective. Once we have plotted all the volume, we need to identify we need to choose the corridor that has the highest volume. Once that is done, we need to specify the price level within which this price corridor will fall. So the way to do it is to understand whether a company has high degree of legal and resource protection. The idea being, if your product is easy to imitate, then there is no point charging higher price. So if a company has higher degree of legal protection and resource protection like patents and copyrights, one can easily, it is recommended that you utilize higher level pricing. If a company has moderate amount of legal and resource protection, mid-level pricing is suggested, and if a company has low degree of legal and resource protection, it is suggested to have a lower level of pricing. So once this strategic pricing is identified, we need to understand why is the pricing coming before cost. Because the approach to Blue Ocean's, Blue Ocean's approach to price is not cost plus profit, but in fact it is strategic price minus target cost. Unlike traditional companies, the price must be defined first and not the cost. Once the cost is determined, then you need to define what is the target profit that is intended. Once both of these are defined, a cost needs to be approached as a target for reduction, and cost reductions can be achieved through either streamlining operations, probably through outsourcing, digitizing, or using cloud infrastructure, or the way companies like Apple do, or by partnering with companies where you can leverage their low-cost capabilities and reach the way companies like SAP does, who partner with Oracle, Capgemini, and Accenture. So once this is done, the last test that involves here is about overcoming adoption hurdles. As we are aware, perfect business models doesn't always guarantee success for a blue ocean idea. Every new idea threatens the position of a company and can provoke fear among the three main stakeholders: the employees, the business partners, and the general public. Now, before moving on to the new idea, it is imperative that the company should communicate the plan effectively to all stakeholders, and this can be done by using a idea index. Next, we come to the execution principle. The first of the execution principles is called overcoming organizational challenges. As we also know that every change in an organization encounters 4 hurdles. Basically, they're called cognitive hurdles. The hurdle where an organization is, or people of an organization are so wedded to a status quo. The second is called resource hurdles. The third is called motivational hurdles, and fourth is called the political hurdles. The conventional wisdom suggests that if the greater the change, the greater the resources and time that we'll need to bring about results. But often you will not have the time nor the resources to implement this change. But by using or leveraging tipping point leadership, one can align all with the new strategy. This can be done by transforming the extremes and by focusing on acts of disproportionate influence. Tipping point leadership suggests that one can overcome cognitive hurdles by what it typically says as riding the electric fever, or in other words, it is about experiencing the key challenges yourselves firsthand along with your top management before framing a problem. So that is the first step. And second step to do that is meeting with the disgruntled customers or meeting with the key stakeholders and understand their experiences firsthand. To overcome motivational hurdles, tipping point leadership suggests that one should zoom in on kingpins. Kingpins are the key influencers. They are the natural leaders, skilled and persuasive. Second step to overcoming motivational hurdles is to place the kingpins in fish bowls, or in other words, it is to make the key influencers accountable for all actions and responsibilities in a fair and transparent manner. And the third step is to atomize to get organization to change itself. Or in other words, it's about breaking up of objectives by function and role so that everybody knows what they have to do and nobody can say it is a difficult task. To overcome resource hurdles, uh, tipping point leadership says that one needs to identify the hot spots and the cold spots. Hot spots are the ones where are the impactful areas where usually more resources are required, and cold spots are the areas, are the non-impactful areas where resources can be freed. By transferring and uh, by transferring resources from cold spots to hot spots and vice versa, one can build up overcome the resource hurdles. One can also look at trading resources from other groups or other areas for a symbiotic benefit. For overcoming political hurdles, tipping point leadership suggests that one needs to clearly identify who are the devils, who will fight me, and who will lose the most if the blue ocean is applied. So it also needs to, it also suggests that you need to identify the angels who you can naturally align with, and you also need to identify who are the people who will gain most by this strategic shift. You can utilize the angels in overcoming the other hurdles like resource hurdles, cognitive hurdles, and motivation hurdles, whereas you can approach the devils straightforward and provide them the benefit and the involved uh, opportunity involved after implementing the strategy shift. Lastly, we come into the last principle, which is called the building execution into strategy. As we understand, during a strategy execution that requires offering customers a leap in value, people are required to step out of the comfort zones and change the way they have performed previously. Excuse me. When people get to know this, people can resent and have a strategy as a strategy thrusted upon them. This can result into poor processes that can ruin strategy. It can lead to distrust and non-cooperation and even sabotage. The three principles of fair processes actually provide a roadmap to counter these management challenges. Uh, it encompasses three processes wherein it engages with the audience and involves the individuals in strategic decisions that affect them. It asks for their inputs and allows them to refute the merits and demerits of the ideas, and thereby nullifying any assumptions that anyone may have. It also explains clearly to everyone involved as to why the strategic decisions are made as they are. And what is the core thinking that underlies this strategy. After explaining and engaging them, it expects a clarity from all and defines what are the new rules of the game and therefore the new responsibilities of each one. And it also suggests what are the expectations and standards that each will be judged upon going forward. By implementing the FAIR process, one actually provides an intellectual and emotional recognition to all people involved, thereby leading to trust and commitment and voluntary cooperation in strategy execution, which ultimately results in exceeding expectations. So with this, we come to the summary of today's webinar, which is today we talked about the strategy formulation and the strategy execution of BOS principles. We talked about the first formulation principles and 2 execution principles. With this, we come to the end of this webinar. For any questions, you can directly reach out to me at my email ID, pavan@regalix-inc.com. I repeat, Pavan, P-A-V-A-N, @regalix-inc.com. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you for your time, and we know your time is valuable, and we hope that you found the webinar informative. For any further queries on online marketing, please feel free to visit www.regalix.com. Thank you so much and have a great day.